Welcome to Mortified, the Friendship Quest, a podcast where two long-distance friends bounce media recommendations, all in hopes that the other will like it. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Leyla.
And this week we discuss the Disney Plus adaptation of Artemis Fowl and complain about what they did to our sweet, terrible criminal son. So real quick, we just want to do some show notes before we actually get into the good stuff. Last week we were off because Leyla had a tooth surgery and I got married, so we weren't probably going to record that weekend. And we did try to do another episode, and we watched the 1988 Akira, which was unfortunately not very good in our opinions. We understand that it is a classic, and also there's a reason that it should remain in the past. So that's why we gave you a little bit of a rec list last time. We're also going to try to make the podcast a little bit more professional in the upcoming months. So if you are interested in that, if you're listening to this on YouTube, you're going to see some stuff in the doobly-doo. That's what they call it, I think. And you can definitely help us out by that. The most important thing you can do, besides just talking to your friends about the show, is liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and we're going to have a newsletter also. There should be a link down there. And you can follow us on Twitter at MortifiedPod. So if you guys want to do all that, that would be really cool. Also, real quick, we also did an episode a couple weeks ago about Steel Crow Saga. And unfortunately, it has come out that the author, Paul Kruger, is kind of an asshole, kind of like an abusive guy. There's been a lot of reports of harassing behavior coming from him, so I mean, we're probably gonna have to retract that recommendation. Leyla, do you think we should probably take that video down, right?
You know, I've been wrestling with that, and I don't know if we should take it down in the same way that like Warner Brothers puts that disclaimer in front of their old cartoons. That's like, well, people had opinions.
Yeah.
I think it's fine. I think we should definitely, if anything, maybe edit in a little. Hey, just so you know, we found this out after we recorded 30 seconds. But honestly, people who are not plugged into publishing Twitter have and will continue to read the book. It's going to continue to be out there. It's a fine book. I think I view it in a different light now that those accusations have come out. But I think it's fine that it stays up because I think it's important for posterity for us to have our reaction on record and to say like, hey, we really like this, but 2 episodes later, we'll tell you, not as fond of the entire situation anymore. Because it's important, I think, to showcase that, especially in these times when people struggle with maybe not liking things they used to like, that you can't disconnect the art from the artist, and it is important to take that into consideration.
Yeah, I mean, we literally just had this conversation about J.K. Rowling, and now this one hits a lot closer to home because I liked Steel Crow Saga a lot more recently than I liked Harry Potter. It's a shitty situation, but we do, it's a conversation we're not going to have here, but, we stand with the people who have made these accusations, and, we believe victims. That's sort of our stance.
Having been a victim of some bullshit myself, it is important to certainly it's important to listen to victims, and it's important to verify when you can, but when multiple people come forward, then chances are
it's
no
a
one.
pattern.
No one ever wants that kind of attention. Nobody wants
Nope.
to come out against a beloved figure and say, "Hey, this person's not great." Actually, so
Yep. I think that's probably all we should say on that.
Yep. I don't really want to.
This is supposed to be a fun show. So anyway,
it's about to be.
It's about to get a little bit wild. So we, as previously mentioned, did watch the Disney Plus Artemis Fowl adaptation, and I'm just gonna, Leyla, you read the book this week, the original book, so you're gonna have a lot of important context during this conversation. I will give a quick recap of what the movie tried to do, and then you can give your summary of the book, and then we can just go hard on all the terrible things Disney did to this child.
Well, for starting context, let's just be clear. This was supposed to be for theatrical release. The rights to this movie were purchased in 2011 by Miramax. It has changed hands several times and just got released through Disney Plus due to the COVID-19 pandemic. If you're listening to this in the future, hi, we're still in the middle of this shit.
Yeah, it's still bad. Being part of history sucks.
It's not great, not loving it. Yeah, so this movie has been in production for 8 years, has gone through several rewrites, and we will fucking get into that. Aaron, what happened in this film?
It's hard to say, Leyla, but I'm gonna do my best. So it starts about what I remember the book being. Right, we have Artemis Fowl, and he is a little boy, and he's also very smart, and he talks about how smart he is with his therapist, but he doesn't get along with everyone in school. He just has his friend who is Domovoy Butler, who is his bodyguard, and it specifically says he's not his butler. So that's, it's a little weird. But eventually Artemis's dad disappears, basically. He's going on some sort of mysterious trip, and then the news breaks that he has vanished somehow, and it is uncovered that a mysterious fairy person named Opal has kidnapped his father, and Opal demands that Artemis bring back the Aculos, which is a magical MacGuffin that everybody wants, and the fairy people don't know about it. I mean, they do know about it, but they don't know where it is, and Artemis doesn't know where it is, but Opal wants it. So Artemis goes on this quest to track down the Aculos. He enlists the help of Holly Short, I believe is her name. Mm-hmm. Officer Holly Short from the LEP Recon Squad. There's a whole undercurrent of the fairies live underneath us, and there's a whole magical society. You've heard this story before. And they go through this weird heist to try to get this Aculos back and free Artemis's father from the clutches of this mysterious Opal. I would say that's a pretty good summary of the plot, and it also covers basically none of what happened in the movie, because it was comprehensible, I would say.
Yeah, I tried to explain this movie to my neighbor while we were walking our dogs last night, and it took me 32 minutes, and I don't think we understood anything. So, great. The book. So, in the book Artemis Fowl is a little crime boy whose father is missing, and his mother, stricken by grief, refuses to leave her room and is a little delusional. So this unsupervised 10-year-old and his friend / employee butler, who is not his butler, it's very explicit, and is more of a father figure, actually, and then Juliet, his butler's sister, they hatch a plot to kidnap a fairy for ransom to take fairy gold so that they can restart some semi-legal enterprises of the Fowl family and be billionaires again.
Okay, that's
the book.
So, Leyla, you didn't mention the Aculos or Opal or his dad being kidnapped, I noticed.
Nope.
So that's weird, because that's what this whole movie was about, and I don't understand that discrepancy.
Well, Aaron, after we finished this, I'ma say it, haunting adaptation of Artemis Fowl, I went online and I started falling down some holes, and here's what I understood. Here's my theory. Here's my conspiracy about what happened with this motion picture film.
Mm-hmm.
It has gone through several hands. It has gone through several rewrites. That's obvious. Here's what I believe happened. They filmed in Ho Chi Minh City, which is where the book opens, which is where Artemis goes, and I shit you not, interrogates a fairy by force. An alcoholic fairy, by the way. This fairy's an alcoholic. He goes, interrogates it, offers it a cure, plays mind games with it to get a copy of her book, capital B book, which is the fairy's religious text that has all of their big fairy secrets. It's written in Gnomish, written in code.
Mm-hmm.
And him and Butler make a copy of the book to give her back her copy, and then they have theirs. And that is what they use to play shitty mind games on Holly, who they kidnap and hold for ransom. And the only reason they don't nuke Fowl Manor, because that was literally what was about to happen, is because Holly's like, oh, Juliet's an innocent. I can't harm Juliet. And then Artemis figures out how to get out of the time stop, not by shooting it, but because he knocked his mother out with some sleeping pills, and he realized that if you change a state of consciousness, you get out. So he drugged himself and Butler and Juliet based on a hypothesis that he made by drugging his mother. I shit you the fuck not. And, oh my god, I was getting at something. Anyway, so they filmed in Ho Chi Minh City, which means that that whole opening was shot. And then, because the first 45 minutes of the movie is very Disney, and it's a little boring but coherent, and then it goes off the rails in a way that I couldn't have predicted or, I don't know, prepared for, I think they shot the book adaptation, and then someone at Disney was like, we can't have a boy doing crimes and look like he's having fun about it. So we're just going to make a different movie. And then Kenneth Branagh, who was the director of this motion picture, who played Gilderoy Lockhart in Harry Potter and also directed the first Thor movie and the live-action Cinderella of 2017, by the way.
All great films.
Just fantastic films. Kenneth Branagh fucking rolled with it, made 4 different movies. And then the first 45 minutes was one, and then the other 3 were the last 45 minutes, and they just edited them together and said, good fucking luck, guys, and now here we are.
Yeah, I mean, it is just so wild. The viewing of this movie is just incomprehensible. It is a unique experience, right? There have been a couple of comparisons to Cats in that, like, its Rotten Tomatoes score is actually a little bit lower than Cats. And I can see why, unfortunately. It is not quite as weird as Cats, but it's not quite as fun either. Nobody really seems like they're having a good time in this movie. I mean, even Dame Judi Dench, who gets to play, like, this grizzled cop commander, she seems like maybe she might be the only one who's having fun, because Josh Gad is just, like, this farting, like, over large dwarf guy. The kid who plays Artemis Fowl is not a particularly talented actor, unfortunately. He's doing his best, but what do you do? This whole movie just is a betrayal of the book, in my opinion, in so many ways. Like the ways you described. I mean, if we just want to go down, like, the ways in which they mischaracterize basically everyone in the film, I think that'll kind of illustrate why we are so baffled and disappointed in this film. Starting with Artemis specifically, like, the film opens with him, like, surfing and skateboarding, and, like, I don't, like, that's one thing I remember from the books, is that, like, his main, his whole deal is that he's a big, stupid little nerd, and, like, there's literally, like, a line in the book I remember from him, like, his skin is, like, literally bleached whiter because he spends so much time in front of a computer screen all day, which I thought is hysterical. And,
he's described as, I believe, bleached white, slightly gaunt, which is a disturbing thing for a 10-year-old to be, and I believe unsettling.
Yeah, he's like a weird, creepy little nerd. And, like, in this one, he's, like, surfing and skateboarding, and there is a literal, like, Men in Black style fight scene, like, when all the fairies roll up to infiltrate Fowl Manor the first time. Him and Domovoy Butler like, come out.
Hey, real quick. Hey, I'm gonna need everyone, all of you who are making media, every single one of you, listen to me. Listen. Fuck you. Listen. Stop using Russian. I shit you the fuck not. I am fluent. It's my language. It is the language I was born speaking. Do not fucking use Russian. Stop it. Do you know what Domovoy means? Casting a black man named Butler. What the fuck are you doing, Disney? What the fuck are you doing? He's supposed to be, like, vaguely Eurasian in the books, so it would make sense for his first name to be Domovoy. It doesn't, but it makes more sense than an Irish black man with bright blue eyes and bleached hair. What is that character design? You tell me. By the way, that guy was also in Cinderella, so him and Kenneth Branagh have like had a working relationship. Second of all, domovoi means of or belonging to the house.
That's bad.
That's what I think. That's his name in the books. But again, if he was like a Eurasian dude, that is less bad than this.
Yeah, we cannot have a black man have the first name of the house and his last name literally be Butler. That is bad framing. Mickey Mouse, could you not perhaps do that?
Yeah, so please continue with how Artemis is athletic.
Anyway, there's this fight that he has with Butler. I'm just gonna call him Butler because that's what he's called in the books. And
wait, sorry, I have to interrupt with one quick fuck you. While I'm still angry about people using my language, the D is not an A. Don't stop doing that. The ya is not an R. Stop doing that. And also, I'm still mad at the Arcana for the Ilushka bullshit because you can't add the SHKA suffix on a man's name if you're not his fucking mom. That's culturally bad. If you do that, you will get punched. Fuck you. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm angry. Stop using my culture weird. Please continue.
Okay.
A lot of built-up rage.
It's okay. So there's this like the fairy cops are about to storm Artemis's house, and him and Butler come out, and they're like unarmed seemingly, and like I was like, oh, okay, this could be interesting because it's like, you know, what are they gonna do? It's like them against like 20 fairy cops with like magic rifles, and what happens is that they just pull secret guns out, and they start fucking up the fairies, and they just have like this like minute-long action sequence where they kick all the fairy cops' asses, and it was at that point where I was like, okay, this is a bad movie now, because like that's the whole point of Artemis Fowl, right? He wins because he's a smart little shitty kid, not because he's like a cool action hero. Like the whole thing where they bust the little time bubble that they make above the manor to, you know, prevent people from stumbling in and seeing a fairy invasion, like. That was really dumb. Like, I like the idea so much more that, like, he drugs his friends and family in order to magically, like, you know, use a technicality to get out of the time bubble. Like, I thought that was so much more interesting in the book than, oh, well, he just shot it, so, you know, now it's broken. At every step, basically, it does not show Artemis being smart. It shows Artemis, like, pretending to be a smart person, but actually just being, like, kind of a average YA protagonist.
Well, it's because Ian Coulter is a smart person, right? But the people who had their hands on the screenplay were not smart people.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, they literally had the book, though. They could just do the book.
But, okay, there was that post on Reddit I sent you last night that made me laugh so fucking hard. That was like, like, shout out to whoever posted this on Reddit, but it was like a snippet of one of the pages of the book, and it just highlighted, the sentence was like, this entire incident began when Artemis is surfing the web, and they just highlighted it up to surfing, and they were like, this is how lightly they skimmed the books. But, like, you know, when I read the book, I was like, how the fuck are they going to adapt this? Because this book is such a product of its time. Like, the fact that Holly is a girl is a big part of her character arc. The fact that she's the first girl cop is, like, her big issue. And Judi Dench's character in the book is Julius Root, who's kind of a shitty sexist.
Yeah.
And, Cudgeon, who gets busted out of prison by Opal. He's just like a shitty social climate cop who wants to be a fairy counselor. Foley is described as... Foley was too cool in this movie. They made everybody way too cool. Foley's a shitty... Foley canonically wears a tinfoil hat everywhere he goes. Thinks that every American spy agency is onto him. Canonically, he has rigged his entire security system to collapse the moment anyone but him touches it, because he's like, fuck you, I'm indispensable. He is shitty and paranoid and funny and does nothing but make fun of Root the entire time because he's amazing, and I'm obsessed with Foley, and they made him way too cool. Also, did you see the shot where Foley fucking cantered? Did you see what that actor's body did when Foley was in a rush? Because it was most insane shit. Literally, the horse is galloping. The horse part, the VFX artists, criminally underpaid and undervalued VFX artists who did an amazing job on this wild film. Um, the horse body is galloping, but then the human body is just like as if you had put him on a dolly. His arms are down, he's leaning back, and he just glides. It was the wildest shit. It was the wildest 1.5 seconds I've ever seen in my life. I'm literally speechless about it.
He just does the wobble really quick.
Yeah, it was. They might as well have started flossing in the middle of this movie because it was so weird. And like Judi Dench. Hey, Judy, Dame. I don't know what
Your
what
Highness.
to call you.
I assume she's royalty at this point.
Yeah. Hey, Your Highness Dench. What's your agent up to? Can we talk about what's your agent doing? What's going on? Can I have a conversation with your agent, please? Because why were you in this and why were you in Cats? What's going on? Are you pulling a what's his name? He played Han Solo. Oh my god. Harrison Ford. Are you pulling a Harrison Ford where you're just there for the paycheck? What's going on? I mean, I respect it.
It does seem like that. Just like, hey, what's a shitty CGI heavy movie that I can like sort of be in but not really?
Listen, I respect the hustle. I really fucking do.
Listen,
I do.
yeah,
I do
get that money.
Hustle. Get your bag, Judy. I love you. You're great. What were you doing in this movie as an elf cop? Which, by the way, watching a movie where, again, in the book, the cops are the quote-unquote, like, good guys. Mm-hmm. Artemis is a villain. We are rooting for a villain. That's the point of the book. It's fun. It's your introduction to, like, likable villains, basically.
Yeah.
Rooting for cops.
In the year of our Lord 2020 in the United States.
Yeah. Also, when there's those, like, wild prison scenes.
There are several prison scenes. Yeah, there's just, like, a whole scene with Josh Gad and, like, hey, there's some goblins that can do fire. And, like, there are so many questions, but, like, the first one was, like, okay, I guess it's set up in this universe that dwarves can't help but steal. And, like, basically all the prisoners are either dwarves or goblins. And it's like, oh, okay, so we're just going straight for the racial minority analogy, huh?
Yeah, I think this is probably what set the stage for that terrible Will Smith movie on Netflix.
Bright. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Bright fucking sucked. And not sucked in a fun way where we could like talk about it in a podcast. Sucked in like I was sitting there, I was watching it like legitimately angry because it was just a sloppy racial allegory. But,
the orcs are black people and they are in gangs, is what I heard.
Hey, Will Smith, why were you in that one, huh? Anyway, so yeah, it's just insane and wild. I will say the Fairy City was cool visually. I really liked the
it was
underground. Fun. But again, when I read this book, it's such a product of its time. Because
I mean, when did the first book come out? Like 2001, 2003?
Yes. So,
yeah, that was a different era.
Artemis, canonically, this is literally what happened, basically went on Craigslist to be like, and on his capital M Macintosh, he was surfing a capital W, separate words, web site.
Oh, wow.
So Artemis Fowl was using one of those Oregon Trail 2004 plastic colorful Macs to get on baby Craigslist to be like, hey, anybody seen some fairies? And then somebody told him to go to Vietnam, and he did.
Oh, that rules, man.
These books, technologically, are so fucking funny to read from a 2004 perspective. And that's part of the reason I was like, okay, what are we going to do about the sexism, and what are we going to do about the backs? Well, I'll tell you what they're going to do. Aaron, who was this film sponsored by?
I don't know if it was sponsored by, but there is a shot where Juliet, who is for some reason changed to Butler's niece in this film, comes up and she's like, hey, Artemis, you've been working too hard. Have a sandwich. And the camera pans down to Artemis, Artemis's little white fingers playing over an Alienware laptop.
Yeah, our boy's a gamer.
Alienware is truly the Macintosh of this generation.
Dude, it was, I mean, they have to be sponsored. You can't do that kind of product placement without either owing Alienware money or Alienware giving you money.
Oh my god, I just screamed. I was just like, what the fuck is happening?
When you sent me that message, I was literally like, no.
Yeah, and then I had to like go back to make sure because like I just saw the little like silver head and I was like maybe I'm because I've been laptop hunting, maybe I just wishful thinking saw it, but no, I went back and got a screenshot. I was like, hey, wait, no, it's for real.
To get me a screenshot, it was, oh my god, it was so fucking surreal. It's so wild because, like, again, this they're living in like a secluded Irish manor on the coast, and it's beautiful.
It's a nice
Let's
house,
be real,
yeah.
I would fucking live there. But like, there was, okay, oh my god, okay, so I went on IMDb afterwards. Speaking of the tech, and like, the only plot hole they have listed is that when Artemis goes down in his dad's like crime dungeon for the first time, which,
Yeah.
pardon, he's like, yeah, it's weird because he's never been down there, but then like as soon as he goes down there, he knows where all the secret lamps are and like just like takes it out of the wall and like that's the only plot hole. That's the only thing you found wrong with this movie. That's the not that characters. Okay, let's, you know what, we were starting to talk about the characters. Let's keep to that format. Let's talk about
Butler. You brought up before. Now before he was like some sort of Eastern European kind of looking guy. Now he is a black man with white, like not white hair, but like weird bleached hair, and he has blue eyes.
And not like blue, like anime cosplay contact.
Yeah, like
blue.
It's upsetting, and there's no reason for it, and it's never commented on. And it's a wild thing to do. They set up at the beginning of the movie that he hates being called, quote, the butler, and I don't know why they did that because in the books they always just call him Butler, right?
Yeah, it's his literal name, and he has canonically beaten the shit out of people who call him Butler.
Okay. But like they set that up, and then they never take the gun off the mantelpiece. In this, they don't have like one of the alien or the fairy cops be like, oh hey, it's the butler, and then he gets real mad and then beats the shit out of them. Which I just don't know why they would include that if it wasn't in the movie at all.
Oh, well, because the mouse got his hands on the screenplay. You can't have crime and violence in a book about crime and violence.
It's so dumb. Like, I remember a part of the movie, of the books, where, like, Butler is, like, rescuing Artemis from some gangsters or whatever, and, like, there's, like, a whole, like, 2-page scene where he just beats the fuck out of some, like, shitty, like, dock workers or whatever, and it's, like...
Oh, that was literally, he wasn't even rescuing Artemis. That was a distraction.
Oh, he was just doing it to distract people. Yeah, like, he's just, like, starting a fight for no reason. Like, I love that. Like, he was such a cool character. In this one, he's just sort of, like, you know... like a cool bodyguard friend who doesn't really affect the plot very much.
He's the wise black man of this
exactly
movie.
He's a magical black man. It kind of sucks. The worst part, I thought, there is a really, really cool scene in the book where, like, there's this troll, right? They get their hands on a troll and they set it loose in Artemis's manor, right? Because they can't actually enter because of fairy laws or whatever. And they set this troll loose, and the troll just starts wrecking people. And in the book, if I remember correctly, a butler, like, gets, like, an old suit of armor, because, like, they're rich people and they have suits of armor, and he, like, puts it on, and he, like, fucking boxes this troll, like, has a straight-up, like, brawl with it, and I thought that was tight as hell. And that just goes completely out the window. They defeat the troll by dropping a chandelier on it, which I think happened in the book too, but, like, they didn't get this cool, like, characterizing bit where Butler's like, what's the best thing I can do right now? It's like, oh, I'm still the strongest weapon here. And I wish they had kept that in, because that is extremely tight, and they...
Well, because during that, also, Holly was perfectly available to fight. Her magic never gets dampened in the book. She's available to fight. She's like, fuck these people.
Yeah, she doesn't, she's not gonna help them. She was kidnapped, right? And that's another thing. Holly, like, basically immediately becomes Artemis's friend. Like, there's, like, one scene where they're mean to each other, and then he's like, okay, actually, I'm gonna take my glasses off, and you're not gonna magic me anymore, right? And she's like, okay. And then they're friends, and, like, at the end, they kind of, like, hint at a weird romantic, like, attraction between them, which was completely undeserved.
What?
She is 84, they said in the movie, so...
She's 84, also she's, like, not a 12-year-old in fairy means.
Yeah. She's an adult, a young adult, but an adult still.
He kidnaps her. And again, literally, if you read the descriptions for all 7 books, like I did, Mr. Colfer, fucking get that bag. They stop being referred to as rivals in the description for, like, the 5th book.
Yeah, I mean, that is completely fair because I would not be super chill with a guy who kidnapped me and tried to ruin my career. Like, it's.
Yeah, so when she starts defending Fowl Manor, she's like, the only reason she starts doing it is because she doesn't want Juliet to get hurt, and she's like, Juliet's an innocent, like, I can't do this, I can't make sure. Like, they want to biobomb, nuke, fairy nuke, the entire house, and like, I can't let them do that because of Juliet, and like, Butler kind of helped me, and like, Artemis fucking, he sucks ass, but like, he's also like, I don't know, like, Juliet's friends with him, so like, maybe he's cool, I don't know, but that's her moral struggle, and the only reason she helps is because of Juliet. And by the way, when Butler gets his ass kicked, he gets, 1, stabbed by the tusk, 2, gets his head turned around 180 degrees and is bleeding out and dying. Listen, I'm not a cinematographer, but please explain to me, the whole point of light in a movie is that it helps tell the story. It's the point of a visual medium. Everything you have helps tell your story. What was the point of lighting them the same way you would light a Regency picnic scene while Butler is sitting in a perfectly unrumpled suit in a chair, dying?
Yeah, his whole death sequence was real confusing. I was like, he looks like he's just like a little bit sleepy. I don't understand.
A little bit sleepy and like allergic to the contacts because he's just like vaguely leaking while Artemis recites a poem that has never been brought up before?
The traditional Irish blessing, that was set up at the beginning of the movie as like the thing that his dad like always said to him, and like that is a thing in Irish communities, like having gone to a school that was presumably founded by Irish Catholics, like that whole like may the road rise up to meet you, that's like a big thing in Irish, like, you know, storytelling and religion. But the way they used it was dumb and bad, and it didn't. There's no reason that Artemis would recite that poem to his butler friend, his bodyguard friend, as he was dying. Like, that was set up as a thing between him and his dad, and like, there are so many crazy choices in this.
In a version of the movie where the Butler is the father figure would make sense, but they didn't make Butler the father figure.
No, because Artemis's dad is in the movie for the first 45 minutes. Can we talk about Colin Farrell?
Is he hot?
I thought so. He's an attractive man.
I literally look at him and I only see like a Gillette commercial when I look at him.
I mean, yeah, but like that's what attractive is, right?
I don't know, man. I like men who look like birds and women who look like they could carry me over their shoulder. I don't know.
Okay, I guess, yeah, you have a type.
Yeah. It's not Colin Farrell, which is weird because I look at him and I'm like, this man is objectively attractive, but I'm not attracted to him. I don't know what to do with that.
I mean, that's just like the bisexual story condensed, right?
Oh, yeah, you're fucking right.
Just like every woman is attractive, and then like one dude is my understanding.
Yeah. No, women. Anyway. That was my biggest question about Colin Farrell is he hot? And also, like, what were you going to bring up? Because I have a feeling it's the same thing I'm going to talk about.
I didn't have anything besides just like, I don't know why he was in this movie. It made no sense that Artemis's dad played a role in this film for any reason.
Well, okay, so Artemis in the book thinks his dad is like dead.
Mm-hmm.
Like, dead ass just thinks he's dead. And then in the second book, you have to go rescue dad from the Russian mafia. Shit you not. Like, that is the summary of the second book. There is something, I think, very Home Alone that Disney was trying to avoid by having this, like, unsupervised 12-year-old doing crime.
Mm-hmm.
For all of its incoherency, I think my biggest problem with this film is that, let's be real, crime is fun. And watching other people do crime without consequences and get away with it is fun.
Mm-hmm.
And Colin Farrell is there to frame this criminal enterprise, which, by the way, the fact that he stole the Rosetta Stone never gets addressed again.
It's really funny that he just, like, stole... Everybody knows he stole the Rosetta Stone, and they're like, well, he got it now. There's nothing we can do.
Finders keepers. That's how the British Museum works, so why not? He's there to frame a partnership between the fairies and humans, which is wild because fairies hate humans. And there's a hint of that where Artemis keeps threatening to expose the existence of Holly and Julius Root.
Yeah.
Or Judy Root, as we can call him. At the end, Colin Farrell comes back, and again, there's no consequences for him having stolen the Rosetta Stone. And him and his son are standing there, and they're talking about saving the world, which is wild. And then Artemis turns around and rings up Opal Cowboy, who, by the way, is not a character for 4 books. And I don't know how he has Opal's phone number, but maybe she forgot to star 67 when she called him to ransom his dad. I don't know.
Yeah. Did you think Opal uses like Verizon, or you think they're more of a Sprint person?
I think honestly AT&T.
Okay, that makes sense.
She feels like she's bougie enough to AT&T, but not like. I think she probably has some like Verizon customer service stories. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, I feel that.
They try to upsell her a couple times too many.
Yep.
And then Artemis turns around and he says,
"She's like, who do you think you are?"
Because I'm a criminal mastermind. And he did not commit one fucking crime in the entire motion picture.
He kidnapped a fairy. That's about it.
Barely.
He tranquilized a fairy a little bit.
Butler did that 1, 2.
Yeah.
They were friends 2 scenes in. He didn't even jaywalk.
Yeah, like it.
He was kind of mean to his psychologist, which, by the way, why are you having therapy in a glass box?
Yeah, that seems like a HIPAA violation for sure.
Criminal mastermind. Didn't even fucking hotwire a car.
It's real bad. I don't. There is another like entirely discarded subplot about Holly's dad. That's how she gets kidnapped in the first place, because she's investigating her dad's like murder / disappearance. I don't actually know.
That's how she gets caught. She goes to find his badge and it never gets brought up again.
Yeah, like, is that part of the books at all? Or
she goes to the tree because Root finds out that she lost her magic because she hasn't done the quote-unquote ritual.
Okay.
And Artemis and Butler know to be there because they had the book and they know all the ritual hotspots.
Okay.
So they go to a tree that's, like, only somewhat often visited. When Holly goes there to replenish her magic, she gets shot.
Okay.
So she goes there because she's a bad officer and gets in trouble. Also, speaking of Holly Shore, let's talk about the subplot where her, like, cop friends are, like, super behind her.
I mean, yeah, there's a bit at the end where they're like, okay, hey, we're so happy you're, like, our commanding officer now because you got kidnapped once.
Well, even before that, like, a turning point of the movie when Butler is dying is that her magic is dampened, and her officer buddies go against orders to get her magic back, but she, like, never interacted with them.
Oh, yeah, like, she's not, like, set up to be a beloved officer. She's just,
no,
like...
in the book, she sucks at it!
Yeah. It's like her first day on the job. Like, she doesn't know these people. And then, like, the fucking, like, cop captain is like, I'm gonna betray the commander here and just turn on the magic so that way she can heal this human who helped kidnap her. Should we talk about Josh Gad at all? I don't even...
Oh my god, we haven't even talked
about Josh Gad and his horrible mouth.
Well, before his mouth. Okay. Let me brace myself real quick. So, this Mr. Colfer, Mr. Einkolfer, wrote a book very much targeted at, like, 12-year-old boys.
Yep, that's when I read it, and I loved it. It was a great book for me in the 4th grade.
It's a fantastic nostalgia read.
Mm-hmm.
Don't give it to your kids today, but by God, if you want to reread it, that's great. The dwarves unhinge their jaws to tunnel through mud and then immediately filter that dirt through their little bodies and poop it out to leave a little trail behind them. That is how dwarves in this universe work. There is a moment where Butler is sent flying backwards and knocked out by a Mulch Diggum's fart. Canon. Josh, in this $125 million budget movie, they could not find the room in the VFX to make Josh Gad small.
Yeah, it becomes a whole point at the end where he calls himself Dwarfus Giganticus, and like his whole character is like, oh, I want to be accepted by the dwarves because like because I'm big, and they're like, no, you're not a real dwarf because you're too big. And my first thought was like, I don't know, maybe he's like biracial or whatever. Don't be racist. But it soon becomes apparent.
Really took it personally.
Yeah, no, I always listen. We could talk about the Muppets movie from 2011 in one day, but right now we're talking about Artemis Fowl, and it becomes clear, from your review of the text and throughout the course of the movie that he is not like a biracial, or he's not like, he doesn't have some sort of disorder. He's just tall, and they didn't want to make him not tall, so they decided to create a plot point around the fact that they didn't want to spend $100,000 on VFX for him.
Well, there's a whole, he's referred to in the book multiple times as a kleptomaniac dwarf. The reason you give something an adjective is to describe it specifically away from the things that it belongs to. So not all dwarves are thieves in the book. They're not all criminals. This guy is a kleptomaniac.
Yeah, that's fine.
So in the movie, all dwarves are thieves. Why?
That's not great.
And then, not to mention, so in the book, Julius calls, it's the same. They kept that, which is Root calls Mulch up from prison and is like, I'll take some years off your sentence if you go rescue Holly. Mm-hmm. The explicit direction in both the book and the movie is, hey, go get her and get out. Do not touch anything. Do not speak to anyone. You will be shielded. Here's your iris cam. Go. In the book, he gets his ass caught by Butler and farts him into unconsciousness. Mm-hmm. And he does find the safe. It is part of Artemis's big criminal plan to get money for him to find the safe. Artemis does not have a stated plan in the movie, but then Mulch finds this safe anyway, opens it. Everyone wants him to open it for some reason, even though he opens it with his magical nose hairs. It is so fucking insane. And then he finds the Aculos inside of that wall safe. And then everybody had wanted him to do... It was the most confusing series of events. I can't even parse that out loud right now. I'm like a day over this film, and I'm like, whose plan was it? Nobody ever mentioned him finding the Aculos. We've forgotten about the Aculos at this point because we haven't seen Opal or Dad in 45 minutes.
Is the Aculos even part of the Artemis Fowl canon?
I couldn't tell you. It wasn't in the first book, and I certainly didn't see it in the description for any of the other ones. That being said, the seventh one is about time travel, so who's to say?
Yeah, I mean, we all jump the shark at some point, and that's fine. You gotta get time travel and going to space in there at some point. There's just so many bad choices. It is astonishing the level of bad choices they made in this.
We keep avoiding the mouth.
Oh, yeah, there's some... They didn't spend any money on the CGI to make him short, because what they did instead was that they spent it all on a couple, maybe 3 shots of him unhinging his jaw, taking his hands and pulling his jaw open, so that way it's 3 or 4 times its original size. That's an underestimation. Probably 7 or 8 times its original size, and then just sort of diving, straight first into, dirt, or I guess in the last shot it's through a prison cell or something. Yeah.
I think it's the third in the top 3 bad choices this movie made. The first being casting a black man as house butler.
Yeah.
And then the second being Holly being white, because she is not white in the fucking books.
Is she not?
And then she is described as having dark, I think, nut brown skin, which is bad, Mr. Colfer, but it was 2004 and you were Irish, so, whatever.
Listen,
we're hoping you've learned.
He's Irish. I'm willing to give him a pass because of the shared bond of discrimination that me as an Indian person and him as an Irish person have suffered under the English. So I'll let it slide this time, Mr. Colfer.
We're hoping you've known better now, Mr. Colfer.
Yeah.
But those, and the Jaw is number 3. I think those are my top 3 bad decisions this movie made. So there's a laundry list of them, a small litany of terrible decisions Mr. Branagh made.
Yeah. I just did you like any of it?
I like how much fun we have talking about it
Okay, well,
because we haven't spoken in a couple of weeks and it's been a rough couple of weeks, and this is enjoyable for me because we're friends and that's the point of this.
yeah, I mean, I enjoy talking to you about it, certainly. The movie itself was not great. There's a couple things that I found actually kind of funny. Okay, so the first is the alien world laptop. I mean, that's the fucking funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. But there's a second, so when they are like trying to shoot Holly basically to kidnap her and tranquilize her, like they have Butler go like camp out of this tree, and he's in this big stupid ghillie suit. And then later on, Artemis inexplicably joins him, and he is also in camouflage, and he looks like the dumbest shit I've ever. He probably looks like what I used to look like when I played airsoft in my backyard when I was 13, which
Well,
which is really funny.
so yeah, it's a very like this whole thing gave me the vibe of like a very expensive Disney Channel original movie.
Oh my god, yes.
There are two parts I found funny. The first is the variant that the mouse put on the usual. Billy, I thought you were going to follow your dreams. No, Dad, this is your dream line, which is when Gillette commercial Colin Farrell is sitting on the couch with his son, and he said, well, Artemis, you used to believe in fairies and goblins and trolls, and Artemis just looks at him and goes, Dad, now I just want to believe in you.
That was not great. That was
Excellent.
That one hurt me in my heart a little bit.
Tone.
It did set the tone, that's for sure. I was like, I know what I'm getting into now.
It set the tone for the 45 minutes of rewritten script that they showed us before they really threw us into chaos. And then the second thing I found funny, in like a very genuine way, was when Holly was asking Butler for her gun, and then he was looking for it and couldn't find it in his pockets, and then Mulch pulls it out and hands it to her.
Like, oh yeah, I just stole that. I forgot
he
that I stole
pickpocketed
it.
Butler for it.
I mean, I like that. That wasn't too bad. I mean, I think Josh Gad does. I think there's a lot of like actual good actors in this movie, and they were just given a dog shit script, and they're just like, okay, I'm gonna do the best with what I got.
Judy really went for it.
Yeah.
Judy went for it. The guy who plays Butler really went for it. Josh really fucking went for it. Josh was exuding a like a School of Rock era Jack Black energy.
Yeah, like very focused and like serious about his performance, but also like kind of cognizant about the inherent silliness of it.
Yeah, by the way, the whole movie was narrated by a Josh Gad in human prison, which was, again, insane.
Yeah, why was Josh Gad in like real people prison? What?
I truly couldn't fucking tell you. I truly have no idea how he ended up there. And we haven't even like really covered. We haven't talked about the fact. Well, we kind of like glanced at it, but like Holly's motivations change really quickly, and we've abandoned Opal because the movie abandons Opal, and Dad comes back, and Dad was never in the books, and his mom got cut out of the books. We don't talk about the fact that Artemis is in school for some reason. We don't talk about the fact that he first of all, I don't know if you noticed, looks older in the first half of the movie because the whole thing was a reshoot.
Oh no.
adding to my theory, he wears like cool fitted jeans. Well, we talked about his athleticism, which is again insane. He's not nearly as like, I think the whole charm of the book for me, and like if you want to reread it, it's such a quick read that I would kind of recommend it. The whole charm of the book for me is that Artemis is like a shitty. I stand by my assessment that he is what he was. He is Kaz Brecker from Six of Crows before. If Kaz Brecker, as a child, spent a little too much time in Hot Topic. You know what I mean?
Yes.
He's like pre-Hot Topic baby Kaz Brecker. The same vibes. Smarmy, smug. But there are these like human moments about him because he's a 12-year-old boy, right? So in the book, he's very like focused on his mission. He wants to do big crimes with his friends. And then there are just these moments where like he wants his mom to be okay. And like they're just such human moments. And there's like a part in the book where it's in my personal notes, but it like broke my heart. He says, Artemis started, he was doing it again, pushing family to one side. What was he becoming? His father was the priority here, not some money-making scheme. And it's right before, because somebody's like, oh, your mom is upstairs with your dad. And he goes, and it's his mom had like in her I guess psychosis. I don't know. It was kind of, his mom was treated kind of weird. I don't really know how I feel about it, but
Yeah.
she like had put her wedding dress on and was talking to like a poor puppet of his dad, and it like broke his heart. And it was just missing these like human moments for all the characters where they all have something humanizing about them, and it was just this weird corporate mishmash that was fun to talk about, but like I don't going back to your question, I don't think it was that fun to watch, especially coming from like I have like a very base level of film school insight into like production stuff. Nothing too deep. I don't ever want to make myself sound like an expert. I've never like been in I've made an animated TV show, but I've never been in like film production, so I have no idea what happens on these big budget studio shoots. But like, you know, you can tell where there's been rewrites. You can tell where there's been a lot of like corporate influence, and it's just not fun to watch. Like the book is fun to read, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, don't watch this movie. Please listen to our podcast about this movie and tell your friends about it because we do have fun. But like, don't. There's so many better things you could be watching.
Yeah, you really could. Oh, Leyla, what? So next week I'm gonna be moving, so we're gonna have to record a little bit earlier in the week if you're available. What do you think we could get? What do you think we could get accomplished in this short time period?
How would you like to watch Kipo and the Age of Wonder Beasts?
Oh, I've heard that's good.
It's very good. It's 2 seasons, 20 episodes, 20 minutes each.
Okay, I should be able to knock that out. What is it on Netflix or Hulu? Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I'll see if I can't knock that out. That'll be good. That'll be, you know, third time's a charm, right?
It is truly a delightful show.
Okay, good. All right. I will be looking forward to that. I'll see if I can't knock that out. And we will put out that episode the week that I'm moving. Leyla, where can people find you on the internet?
I feel like we need to take a breather after that.
Yeah, it was just a lot.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. You can find me at LEYLSES at Leylsas on Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram. You can also read my comic at astroheartcomic.com or at astroheart-comic on Tumblr. I will also just really quickly, if you donate, I'm going to specifically say $27, just so people aren't scamming, to the Marsha P. Johnson Institute. You send an email to Leyla, ma'am.art at gmail.com. I will sketch you something. I am currently doing donation commissions for various causes that help marginalized folks around the country, particularly Black people, particularly Black trans people, because Happy Pride Month.
That is a worthy and honorable cause. I have no such honorable cause to mention except that you can find me on the internet at AaronSXL. You can find some of my other projects. I do a podcast with my 2 ex-evangelical friends where we did a tier ranking of the New Testament of the Bible. You can find us at MBMBF and me on Twitter. And if you're one of those people that has a reverence for the Bible but isn't exactly fond of the whole religion around it, definitely check that out. And you can also, we just want to remind you to like this YouTube video, subscribe to this channel, leave a comment because that's good for algorithm stuff, and word of mouth is the best form of advertisement. So mention that you know some people who are trying to get internet famous.
One last note, speaking of, because we brought up Kaz Brecker again, and we did talk about Six of Crows, just some well wishes for Lee Bardugo, who seems to be having some health concerns recently. We wish her all the best. She wrote a really fun book that we like talking about, so
yeah.
Hopefully she is heading towards I'm not sure if the thing she has can be recovered from, but from a much easier time dealing with it.
Yeah. Much love, Miss Bardugo. Leyla, what sort of quote should we end on, do you think?
Well, that's easy, because we're criminal masterminds.
Yes. We are criminal masterminds stealing the precious hours out of your day to talk about Artemis Fowl. Thank you all for listening, and we will see you next week.